Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about some features that are within the Desmos graphing calculator that you can use to support teaching the lessons within this unit, as well as all lessons within Algebra 1. So the Desmos graphing calculator has a lot of similar features to a regular graphing calculator. However, I believe it's a bit more advanced and the technology is a bit better. So you have the ability to do a bit more within this calculator, and it's more user friendly. So the first thing you need to do is you or your students need to go to desmos.com/calculator. Within the calculator, you are then able to create a graph. You can graph lines in slope-intercept form, just like a regular TI-84. You can also graph lines in standard form. Any form of a linear equation can be graphed within Desmos. They'll pick it up and be able to create the graph for you. Desmos is really great because you can actually click the point and it will actually tell you the coordinates of that point. For example, here we have 1, 6. If you notice right now, this graph is counting by an interval of 1/2. That's fine, and that's something that students should get used to. However, you can change the interval within Desmos in multiple ways. First, you can simply zoom in and out. I can zoom out, and now I'm counting by ones. I can also zoom in if I wanted to see an interval, or if I wanted to see maybe, what is this, 1/5 it's counting by. But you also are more clearly seeing 1, 2, 3, which might help students to see, oh, that's 1, 6. Okay, so you can play around with the zoom feature. You can move the graph around simply by clicking and dragging the screen. Within Desmos, you also have the ability to change the actual color of the lines. So if I click this and hold down, I can change the color of the lines here. I can change if it's dashed or dotted, and I can also change this right here will change how dark the line is, and this will change the thickness of the line. You can see if I did 7, it's going to be a lot less thicker than if I have 2.5. And this changes how dark it is. And that's a really useful feature, especially if the two lines are graphed in the same color. If you want to assign different lines, say graph this equation in red, this equation, etc. It helps students to visualize the actual, especially when you're graphing systems. You also have this feature right here, the graph settings, that you can use to help with adjusting the axes. So if I'm doing a real world problem, I might change this. Right, if my domain is only 0 to, say, 15, I might change my x-axis to be 0 to 15. And if my range is also only in the positives, I can also change that. Now, if you notice, you don't actually see the axes when you set it at 0, so I like to do it as -1, just so you can actually view it. And so now you get zoomed in on that positive kind of section of the graph. You can also add a label. So if I was doing a real world problem and I was talking about hours worked compared to money earned, right, I can actually label my axes on here. Okay. And that's really useful because students can actually go ahead and screenshot this screen and submit it or paste it into a document if they are trying to create a graph for a presentation. Another really useful feature on Desmos is you can change the name of your graph. So maybe I'll just call this system of equations. I press save, and now this graph saves. So as long as you're signed in, make sure your name is right here, your graph will save and you'll be able to access past graphs that you've completed. Okay. Within Desmos, you're also able to graph a table. So I'm going to delete. Actually, I'm going to get a new graph, new blank graph. And now I can add a table. So I can press add, click table, and I can just plot points by typing them in. Now, if you notice, I can't see the 3/8, so I'm going to move this up. I'm going to zoom in I'm going to zoom out once, so I'm seeing it count by ones. And now I'm going to click here because I want my points to be connected. So I'm going to click turn the line on, and now my points are connected. You can also change your points to be open circle, X's. I don't know why somebody might do that, and then you also have the thickness and color. Same feature here with the lines. Another really cool feature is you can actually drag the points. So if I turn that on, it allows me to drag the points, which you may have seen, and you can drag them only in certain directions. So that one only lets you drag it down. Hold this again, and this allows you to drag it, and that would only let you go left to right. And this allows students to drag. So if you wanted students to kind of try to extend their line and think about what the pattern is and maybe what the next point on the line was, you can have them drag. Okay. And you can also change the color. Oops. By just clicking and hold it down, you can change the color of the line. Okay, and the cool thing about when you drag it is it's changing those 2 points, those last 2 points. So it helps students visualize and see, oh, how can I move this point to a space that would keep the same pattern? Which is going to be really supportive in them understanding linear functions and their patterns. Okay. The Desmos graphing calculator also has just a calculator within it. So if students are doing math problems, they can click this feature down here and they're able to access a full 4-function calculator and complete any type of problem. When they're typing in here as well, they can use this to, like if they wanted to do a squared, they can actually just use that calculator if they're not sure. And there's also an absolute value feature that students can use. So you have a lot of features within the graphing calculator that will allow students to explore Desmos and explore different types of functions. In my classroom, the graphing calculator is a resource students are encouraged to use at all times. Because this year is such a strange year, students, I have been okay with students using this calculator to submit graphs. We encourage them to graph by paper as well, but this is a resource that can be used at all times, the same way that when we're in person, we would use a TI-84. They just don't have access to that in the same way this year. Okay. Thank you for listening. Overall, the main takeaway should be that you can use the Desmos graphing calculator in so many different ways to support the learning of your students in your classroom.